If you are thinking about starting a business in 2025 and you're looking for a little guidance on how to get you there, head over to secondactsuccess.co and book a call with me. Let's have a chat about your goals to see if I can better support you as you transition from where you are to where you want to be. Go to secondactsuccess.co and click on that green button to book a call or grab a link in the show notes below. I am excited to meet with you and to help you as you start your second act in 2025.
I had just done so many of the same strategies at the same companies where I kind of was like, well, why not me? Like, why not me? Like,
Yeah.
maybe if I'm doing the strategy for this company, and this company, could I just do it for my company? It was just that I questioned myself, why not me? And
Yeah.
I just tried it.
Are you ready to quit your 9 to 5 job and start a business of your own? Well, you're in the right place, my friend. Welcome to the Second Act Success Career Podcast. I am your host, Shannon Russell. I am a former television producer turned business owner, career transition coach, and boy mom. My mission is to help you produce your best life. This podcast will teach you how to get from where you are now to where you want to be and how to build a business that fits your life and lights you up. Let's get started. Welcome back to the show. This is Shannon Russell, your host of the Second Act Success Career Podcast. Have you ever looked at someone else who's pursuing their dreams, finding success, and thought to yourself, why not me? Well, I know I have, and my guest today has too. Her name is Cookie Zito, and she is the founder of the Christy Maz Network. Cookie has worked for over 15 years in TV and digital media. She has worked with brands like Discovery Plus, Rotten Tomatoes, AOL, MTV, and others. As a woman in her 40s, Cookie noticed a gap. There weren't enough shows or stylish, age-appropriate clothing that spoke to women like her. So she figured, why not me? And she created the Christy Maz Network, a premier destination designed for and by women over 40. Christy Maz Network bridges the worlds of lifestyle content and fashion with shoppable videos, giving women the stories and the styles to suit their lives. I asked Cookie to join me to talk about what it's like to be a female founder and create not just a brand, but a whole experience for women. Now she is creating a network online to help women feel seen and never look at aging the same again. Let's get to it. This is my friend, Cookie Zito. Cookie Zito, welcome to Second Act Success. This is such a treat. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited too. And I love
Like,
everything that you're doing. So that you asked me to be on this podcast, is so exciting. Thank you.
well, we've known each other for like 23 or 24 years now at this point. So long.
I'm pretty sure I was your intern.
It was so long ago, but we basically began our careers together and then we've taken pivots and now we're in different aspects of our careers. I know your story. I know everything about you, but I want you to talk to us, take us back to the beginning and tell me where your career began and what you wanted to do.
I mean, I guess I have to say that my career began at MTV. I was from Birmingham, Alabama, and I did an internship at MTV from school. I went to Auburn. And from there, I just fell in love. And I just knew going out there that I wanted to be a director. I had no idea what a director was. It was just like what I thought I saw in the movies, I guess. And I went into the control room for the first time ever. And one of the directors was in there, Joe DeMayo was my first director that was in the hot seat. And I was like, what in the hell is this? No way. This is insane. I don't want to be a director. I love it. It's amazing. But I just really knew that maybe I wanted to do more like producing and more like not live. Well, that didn't happen. The fear is the first lesson in fear and do it anyway. I think it just was like really overwhelmed. But the more I got in the control room, the more I loved the high energy of live television. I got hired after my internship and I started doing like more of the live television stuff. Like I did like Wild and Out, the live, like multicam. We did like a live hit from Cancun. What else did we do, Shannon? What else? I mean, it's so hard. I did Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was a live to tape multicam. TRL, I never really worked on TRL, but I did internship on it. And I learned a lot about live television from there.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I got to work with some really great producers, some really great showrunners and directors. Oh, New Year's Eve. I did New Year's Eve one year. I did the Woody Awards. And so I really started getting into live television. And that's where me and you kind of did parallel live things because you did live television too. And I just remember it always being this is another lesson that I learned early on. There were so many females there and so many female empowerment. I don't ever feel like there was that like, oh my God, she's gonna get the gig. It was like, if Shannon gets spring break, then I'm gonna get homecoming because there was so much work to do. And there was so and like we learned from each other. And I just always remember there was like only like a handful of us live PAAP producer types that kept growing up, getting older. Every time someone would get older, the next position would open up. And it was just really cool. So that's kind of how I started. And then my mom got sick and I moved to Atlanta. And I worked at a graphics house, which was actually really great too, because I started seeing like the sales side of having to get new business and just what like a small business really looked like. Cause I had come from that huge conglomerate in MTV and like
Yeah.
Viacom world and then went there. And then my mom was sick and she had fortunately passed and I moved to LA and you were there. And you were in New York and you were in LA. And you brought me to Yahoo. So that's really exciting. So Yahoo
Was
was
that your
trying to
first
get
job in LA? Was that your first
yes,
job in LA? Wow.
yes. You got me the first job in LA. One of the producers came in and was like, you have a music background. Maybe you could do the live music shows. And I was like, please, because I had loved anything that had a thread with music. And
Yeah.
that's where I really got into branded content and started seeing how cool it was to work with a brand and bring a vision to life. So I learned all these like weird lessons along the way. And then I went to AOL and then I went to Rotten Tomatoes, which was cool. And everybody was trying to do live television or like long form television shows because they were digital and trying to do long form. And I knew both.
Yeah.
So I just kept doing that. And I started getting into development, which means creating show ideas and pitching them to networks or being at a network and having a show being pitched to me. And I kept seeing all of these holes that I just kept seeing like great women like yourself come in and pitch in a show idea. And it was amazing. And we would have the contacts to go out, but then the contacts would be like, you know what? We love the show, but we only have one spot for one thing. I left the corporate world and went to the production company world and started pitching more to other companies. And I started seeing all the holes in everybody's. It was the same. And then I was like, I think that there's a place where I kept being like, I wish that there was a hub where we could just have all these great shows live. And then at the same time, I was shopping because I love to shop and I couldn't find cute stuff that was affordable. Like, I always make staple pieces, but they'd be like designer. And then you just can't have, if you're a working professional, you don't always want to like spend money on, and I was married at the time and my husband was like, you got to stop shopping. And
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't. No, I'm just, and I really wanted to find clothing, but then everything I would see, and I was 30 at the time, was like old and matronly if it wasn't trendy. I love being trendy. I love being fashionable, but I also wanted some good staple pieces that weren't like, Christian Louboutin or Dior, which I
Right.
do love those brands, but I just can't afford them all the time. And so I kind of really started like getting into that. And then when I was at the production company, I got to work at Voodoo, which was Walmart's streaming service. And so we worked as like a counterpart to them. So I was like the creative executive for their unscripted. And I started seeing how products could drive the company because Walmart is products, but they wanted
Mhm.
to do television too. And I was heading up the unscripted. And that's where I really was like, okay, this is a vibe. Like every company I've been to, we do television. Rotten Tomatoes was ticketing at Fandango. So there was like sales involved. So I kind of had already been on the product side and I just really loved fashion. So during COVID at that production company, one of the bosses, I was talking to him and he had started the company. And I was kind of like, how did you do this? So I was curious, I was really curious. And I had two amazing female bosses. I was watching them do everything. And I just was like, you know what? I wish that there was a place where we could pitch shows like they were for women and we could do this thing. And then COVID hit and it was like super weird. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to start the clothing line. So started a clothing line. It was not, it's what what Christy Nyes Network is now was Shop Cookie Zito back then, and I thought it was going to be like a little like stylist boutique or something. And it just morphed. And then I was like, why not? And it felt like a really big thing to take on, but I'm here and I'm doing it and I'm super pumped. I combined fashion and media, television shows, and you can watch like a like to know it type of vibe. So like there's people out there that are doing it in a sense that like I wanted it to be for women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond. And whenever I was getting those television shows, because I'm 40, I'll be 46 in February. When I was getting those shows pitches, I was learning that the mandates were like kind of hitting off the mark between the 40s and 50s. Now there's a lot of talk about it, which is great with like JLo turned 50 and Witherspoon's crushing it. There's some
Yeah.
women out there doing it, but a lot of it's, I mean, a lot of it's scripted. And I really wanted to have first unscripted. So I'm giving it a shot and I'm into this is my second year, but my first year of launching. So it took me a year just to get everything going. And this is my first year and I'm doing it.
You're doing it and you are
Yeah.
killing it. So it's
Thanks.
Christy Maz Network. Just to explain what Christy Maz is, tell me how you came up with the name and really what listeners can find when they go to your website.
So it's basically a media company with a shoppable element. It's one brand with two experiences. You can watch content and you can shop the looks. And Christy Maz is not a real person, but I created her. I got inspired by like Ann Taylor, who's not a real person, or like Victoria's Secret. You know, I think that she was somebody, but they made it into somebody different or whatever. I like the idea of being able to talk to women at whatever life stage they're at as a person, especially with personal brands on social media and stuff. What you want at 40 and 50, especially clothing wise, is not the same. Your wants and needs are different, but your core values are the same. You still want
Mhm.
something classy. You still want something affordable, especially if you have kids. A lot of women are feeling like they do everything for the family, and I'm sure they're tired, right? And
Mhm.
I wanted to give them a place where they could go and feel like, oh, relief. I can buy something cute. It's not too cheapy, but not too expensive. Like in that price point, that's amazing. I personally shop for the clothes, find them. I have a seamstress I'm working with that helps me, like, if something's not long enough or doesn't cover the stomach, like, there's ways to work through those things. So I'm really excited about that. And then the television aspect of it was just out of my career. I kept seeing great shows. Women were pitching stuff, men were pitching stuff about women content because I was always kind of like the female skewing content woman at my
Right.
jobs. I always lean towards that. I've been raised in my career with really amazing, powerful women and men. And I come from a family of all women. I have two sisters and my mom, which combines the name. My oldest sister is Christy, and my mother was Marianne. So I took her initials MAZ and mashed them together, and she passed away at 63 in 2009. So it's kind of like a little nod to her because she would love this idea.
Oh, so
But
special.
I just morphed them together to create a person so that I could talk to everybody. And it could be whoever you need her to be in that life stage. Chrissy Maz is every woman.
Yeah, and Cookie, you and I went out and at 22 and 23, and I know what we were wearing, and that's not what we wanna wear now in our
And I
40s, and
can't wear it, Shannon.
exactly. Exactly. So I love that you're thinking about the woman in all aspects, what she wants to watch, her beauty, her fashion, and combining it in this really awesome network that right now is solely digital, right?
I'm going to get a little futuristic on you, but I feel like technology is the future and I want everything to stay on the web or stay on or like a website basis. And obviously, like we'll use social media to promote the brand or whatever, but I'm really poising this brand to be able to go on the blockchain if it needs to be. I don't even know if a lot of people know what the blockchain is, but it's really, it's a kind of a cool technology. I mean, it's really cool technology where you're peer to peer and you can see the transactions. You can see there's like a ledger, there's a bunch of stuff that's like really cool. And I think like Web3 is the future. I think blockchain is the future. Obviously, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, like things like that. So I want to be able to move in that kind of direction, especially with AI. Everything is AI, AI, AI. A lot of the website builds are already having those things on their back end. So I would rather do that. I have been streaming and linear my entire career. So there's nothing against it. I guess to an extent, the television shows would be technically streaming, but they would be on the website. I
Right.
want everything to be super easy. In a perfect world, if I could have it on my way, I have like an app and women would know about it. And then you could click it and do whatever
Yeah.
you want, or you can go to the website. But everything is mobile now and everything is technology. And I'm excited about the technology. I heard a really great quote once that said, the future is going to happen to you or with you. And it really, really, really resonated with me. And it really wanted me to empower women to learn and not be fearful. Yeah, there are some things we need to be fearful of. We hear all these things in the news, but I really felt like with Christy Math, I want to be of service. And so I'm trying to use like service journalism as like my main focus. You're learning things. We're not taking a side or anything like that. We're just teaching.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of doing service journalism too. You're
Yeah.
just educating and you can do what you want with it. It's like, let's see what happens. But knowledge is power. And I really want women to see another side of things, the side that I'm learning and seeing, because not everything is horrible. So I
Right.
wanted to be able to kind of shift that too with the network.
That is really brilliant. And I haven't heard a lot of people take that approach of not being fearful. When I'm talking with girlfriends or colleagues, we're all saying, oh, we're really scared about what's happening and we want to go back to the way it was. I love that you're embracing it and wanting to learn yourself and then teach, because that's how women can be empowered to create their own brands or businesses or just take that move and being that lifelong learner.
I think so. And like even going back to the story about the control room, it freaked me out. But then after I sat with it for a little while, I was like, oh, let me go back in there and just see. And it ended up being like one of the best times of my life in my career. I think that change is definitely hard and you hear all these things. I love the media because we're in it, but I also understand that there's a lot of stuff that we're just being told and what's the other side of it? There's some really good things happening. You're
Yeah.
hearing about all the bad actors in certain spaces, but there are people that are doing good. So let's focus on that too.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about you making this leap. Like you leapt from a secure, I mean, yes, entertainment is not secure. We're constantly looking for our next roles and hopping from company to company. I've talked about that a lot here on the podcast, but you still were pretty high up. You were working all the time. What made you decide that, now was the time to leave that career, that aspect of your career, set out on your own to create not only a business, but a network and a clothing line? Like, 3 really big things all at once and take that risk.
I think there were so many moments. It's not like I just woke up and was like, I'm going to do this. During COVID, I was like, okay, I'm going to go for the try. Just like, let's see if I can just start this shop thing. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
I would like experiment here and there and do things. But I think what really happened is one of the like last defining moments is I was working and I love to work. I'm gonna be honest, like, I kinda love it. I think it's fun, especially in creative, like, being creative and having, like, show ideas and connecting people. I think that's fun, and I had just done so many of the same strategies at the same companies where I kinda was like, "Well, why not me? Like, why not me?
Yeah.
Maybe if I'm doing the strategy for this company, and this company, could I just do it for my company and see what I'm like, and then get to hire my people and get to do always been very blessed to be able to work with people I love and like be able to hire who I want to hire and like do those types of things. So don't get me wrong, but I think it was just that I questioned myself, why not me? And
Yeah.
I just tried it. I'd always wanted to do it, but I was just scared and I couldn't do it. And then the money and all those types of things. And then I just was like, well, you're gonna feel that way doing it over here too, so why not go do it for yourself? And so I
Yeah.
tried, but I've been learning a lot since that
Yeah.
moment.
Digital, clothing, putting it all together and finding funding. Let's talk about that because it's easy to say, oh, let's follow that dream. And then the admin aspect and the money aspect and all of the other pieces aside from the creative come into play. And that's the hard part, which I think can make a lot of people back up and not follow their dream. So you had a very big dream and you need funding for it. So talk to me about the aspects that you're going through to find funding and get investors and all of that.
Well, so I've bootstrapped. I've done a lot of stuff out of pocket, but I do have an angel investor who invested in me a small amount. It's a big amount, but like a small amount compared to the big raise that I'm raising. But I had also come from the show world where I was pitching shows to networks. And part of that whole process that a lot of people don't know about is the selling part. You have to sell the show to the network, or you're at a network and someone pitches a show and the network buys it. So I'd
Mhm.
already kind of through my career thought, oh, I understand this part of it, and working with brands and doing things like that. Like I always kind of knew that part, but raising capital is so different. It's not the same. It's totally different. It's its own sort of like career sector in
Yeah.
itself. And it's been really interesting to learn. And I feel like I'm in this new finance and technology world, which I had kind of already been in a little bit in some of my other companies that I worked at. But this has been just a very interesting, eye opening experience. And you know what? Like, it's been making me really figure out that, and I will speak for myself. I won't say all women, but part of my mission now is to educate more women, especially older women. As you've gone through your career, you've made money, you've had kids, you're whatever your life stage is, maybe you're getting divorced or the kids move out or whatever the stage is. There's this new perspective on finance. And
Mm.
what are you doing in retirement? What are you doing when you're in between moments, or I'm too old to do this, or I'm too old to do that? And I'm starting to see that that's not true. That
Mm.
is what we've been taught a lot of times. And so for myself, I have been really trying to unpack that part. And I've been really learning a lot from doing all of the venture capitalists or pitching to sponsors or looking for sponsorship opportunities and things like that. But it's been really eye opening and educational for me to learn a new way about finances.
You asked, I listened. Many of you have been asking for more info on how to kickstart your second act business. So I created the How to Quit Your Job and Start a Business limited series podcast that will walk you through step by step how to go from employee to entrepreneur. Plus, I designed a free workbook to help you take action while you listen. Go now to secondactsuccess.co/listen to grab this free tool. Can't wait to share this with you. You're a true female founder, right? Because I can say, oh, I'm a
Yeah, I
female
guess.
founder. I founded my business, but I didn't go out and raise venture capital. Like that's a whole other aspect. That's what a true female founder does. Had other women on the podcast that are talking about raising crazy amounts of money to come and make their dream come true. And that's what you're doing. It's
I know, it's
so
wild.
impressive. Yeah.
Thank you. It's been very interesting journey, and you're right. Like when you say it, I'm like, yeah, I am doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having fun, and I'm in a really amazing pod group is what it's called. It's called Venture Crush. It's the Lowenstein law firm. It's amazing. Like you get to go in there. It's like a little pod group. You can ask questions. There's a venture capitalist person there that you can ask. There's lawyers there that you can ask questions. And they basically like mentor you. And then I've met so many amazing women. It actually inspired me to start a new show. It's not a show yet, but it's going to be a show soon, hopefully. But right now, it's an article called Pitch Please, because I kept seeing all these women that have these great ideas that are like me, bootstrapping, or they've raised billions of dollars, but they're not at their full seed round yet. But there was no distribution. So that made me really hunker down and be like, okay, I want Chrissy Maz to be a distribution opportunity to help people who might, they made it past Shark Tank. Some people made it past the Shark Tank part,
Yeah.
but then they need more promotion, and it's like, where are you going to promote your brand? I want to make Christy Maz a hub for women to promote their brands too.
And that helps you grow, right? To partner with
Yeah.
someone who already has
Yeah.
this great aspect, and then together you're promoting on both of your platforms. So why not? It's a
Yeah.
win-win.
Why not? Yeah. And it's fun. People's product ideas. It's cool, and, like, you won't know about things unless there was a place to go to learn about it.
Well, I love that you are pulling every aspect of your career together and your life, including your mom and your sisters and your family. It's all come together in this really incredible second act network, this project. Do you feel like there's one thing that is kind of thread throughout your life to lead you to this moment?
I think women, empowering women and building a community and a sisterhood. I was raised by a single mother and I had two sisters. And I've just always really bonded with females. When you have like your best girlfriend, or I've had friends that I haven't talked to in years, and then I could call out of the blue and it feels like we just picked back up. I like love that so much. And I just feel like that is at the core, like the service that I want to do through Christy Mad. Like I want to build a community. I want to build like a place for women to feel seen and heard and have fun. And when you're stressed out, a place to go to find answers or whatever you're looking for. I think that's the main thread has been women, sisterhood, and empowering women with knowledge. Whatever I'm learning, I teach them, or whatever I don't know, they're teaching me. Even just meeting those other women in the pod group and them telling me about their product, I had no idea. It's fun to learn from that and then share it. I mean, I definitely don't know everything. I'm not trying to be like an expert. I built this hub to have people like you, like experts, come on and tell other people. But there's
Mhm.
just like a central community, you know? That's kind of like my vibe.
It is your vibe, and that's you to a T. You've always been this friendly,
No, thank
outspoken
you.
woman who is friends with everyone, and there's not competition, and everyone feels like they're your friend. And that's all showing in what you're creating to bring women together. And I love that,
Thank
especially at our age. It's really just
thank
so,
you.
so inspiring.
It's also been a little bit challenging for me because everything right now is so singular brand. You know, like everything is the personal brand on Instagram or like the influencer, which is amazing. But I keep feeling it in my gut. I keep praying about it and I keep focusing on it. And I just feel like, yeah, I'm going to keep moving forward. Like it doesn't have to be the female Spike TV. But Spike was cool. Like, he was like, you knew what you were getting when you went there, you know? But I wanna make sure that this is, like, more than a personal brand. It's like, it's a community, like a place for people to go.
And you're the face of it. You're the face of it, so you can pop up on the social. There's so
Oh,
much that you
yeah.
can do.
Pop-up shops, we did a local pop-up shop in LA, and it was so fun, and people got to
Yeah.
see the clothes, watch some content. That's been amazing. But I have to admit, it's really challenging for me to be like, in front of the camera, the face, show up on social. I've had a lot of people say, "People wanna know who you are, who is behind Christy Mass," so I totally get that. But that's been work for me to do because I've always been behind the camera and love people who want to be in front of the camera and want to showcase all that stuff. So it's been very, and even this podcast, I was like, where do I look when I was talking to you? And you're like, Cookie, you've produced like 100 of these, but not me. That's been very interesting. What about you? Like, can I ask you this? You turning from behind the camera to on camera and you're so natural at it. Like, what are some tips? Like, what's your secret?
I I feel the same way as you, actually. It's not easy, and I think I started the podcast as an audio only podcast, so that was easier, and I got my confidence that way and was still interviewing people like I always had. But then when I started doing more video and social media, it was just, all right, well, this is who I am, and if you like me, then you can follow along, and just kind of trying not to think about all the insecurities and imposter syndrome. But yeah, it's not easy, and now when I speak on stages and stuff, that still, like, gets me so nervous, but it's part of building that brand as well. So I think it's just something that maybe 15, 20 years ago, people who own businesses didn't have to do, but now we really do because you want to connect with your ideal customer or client. So
Yeah,
it's a work in progress, I think, for both
we're
of us.
doing great. You're doing great. Yeah, no,
Thank
it's super. It's definitely interesting, but I would rather do it if people feel more comfortable and they wanna know about certain things, like, I wanna share that.
You're so personable and so kind and just so much fun to be around that that'll show the more you're on camera too, and the more people will
Thank
just love Christy Maz like I do. So,
thank you. Thank you.
all right, it's time for our 5 fast cues of the week. Here we go. Name one thing that these different chapters in your life have taught you.
Self-love,
Mm.
how to love myself, how to be okay with where I'm at.
Would you recommend taking a leap into a big life change to your best friend?
It depends. I'm going to say yes if you are thinking about it. If you're thinking about it and it's in your head and you keep wanting to do it, then yes, I would say yes, do it. But if you're okay with where you're at, no. Like just because I'm doing it or I want people to grow doesn't mean everybody has to do it. Entrepreneurship itself is not for everybody, but I do think that women will get more excited when they follow their passion. And that doesn't mean you have to make your passion your career necessarily. But I do think, long story short, yes, if you've been thinking about it,
Great answer. Great answer. What is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is about to start their second act?
get lots of sleep. Like it's hard to burn the candle on both ends and then have creative ideas and do meetings. And I think that sleep is one of my favorite things and one of my best friends. So I would say get your sleep.
What does the next act look like for you? We talked about it a little bit, but if you were visioning the future 1 year, 5 years from now, what is your next act?
1 year, I want to definitely have multiple television shows, multiple pieces of clothing on the Christy Mad Network, and I want to do a pop-up shop. 5 years, same thing. I would love to have this like expand out to be what women want and like have solutions for people, have VJs for lack of a better way, like maybe all the influencers in one place. Not like Instagram, but just like a place where you can go and promote things and a very fun spot for women to feel seen and heard and get advice and shop for looks that they love.
It's going to happen. It's already happening. So it's
Thank you.
exciting
I
to
hope
think.
so. I'm excited.
So, where can our audience connect with you?
Right now, since I'm bootstrapping, I'm on the web. It's ChristyMazNetwork.com. It's ChristyMaz network.com. And then I'm on Instagram, which is the Christy Maz Network. And then I have a LinkedIn too. That's just my own personal Cookie Zito on LinkedIn, but you can follow me there and hit me up or whatever you want.
Perfect. Yes, I'm going to link to everything in the show notes as well. And this was so inspiring. I know you're such a busy lady. I thank you for joining us here and sharing your story. Creating a network is not something that we've talked about yet here on the show. So I'm so happy to have one of my dearest friends here to talk about it. So thank you.
Thank you for having me and believing in me and just all of this. Like, it's been great. I love what you're doing. Thank you for all your guidance and coaching and literally through my whole career. And now it makes sense that you've made this your career. So it's amazing. I would recommend you to anybody.
You're so sweet. Thank you, my friend. Wishing you all the best. And I'm so excited to be watching and walking it through with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you found some gems of inspiration and some takeaways to help you on your path to second act success. To view show notes from this episode, visit secondactsuccess.co. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Reviews only take a few moments and they really do mean so much. Thank you again for listening. I'm Shannon Russell, and this is Second Act Success.